Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are totally glad you're here. We got an excellent show for you tonight. I'm speechless. We just have so much to say. I'm joined in the studio with Miss Ima Surefire.
Hi, folks.
And
Uncle Bocce.
And the
Howdy.
Uncle Bocce. We are ready to rock and roll. We are all over the social media, predominantly Facebook and Twitter as Doc Owen Show, DocOwenShow. We have a budding blog, DocOwenShow.com. That's the best place to go to sign up for the Doc Owen Show Insider email list and get all the tips, updates, and reminders. And we have a free app for both the iPhone and Android devices that you really should take advantage of. Because not only do you get to listen to the show as you wish and get a reminder of it, because the minute we go on the air, it gets tweeted and put out to the app. But you also get access to all of our what are called podcasts or back issues from not just this show, Doc Owen Show, but we also have a second show that we've started called Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show. And Saint is sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition. It is about sanctuary cities and their kissing cousin, illegal immigration. So we devote an entire hour to that topic. And I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. So join us over there. We always start our show in a very traditional manner. Miss Surefire leads off with an inspirational quote. Uncle Bocce gives us a day in history. Then I follow with one or two leadership quotes. So, Miss Surefire, take it away.
And as usual, tonight's quote comes from InspirationalDaily.com. And it's from a gentleman by the name of Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh!
He was an American lecturer and poet, and looked upon as a champion of individualism.
Yes.
And his quote is, "It is not length of life, but depth of life."
Sweet.
All right.
Well done.
Nice.
Good.
Thank you.
Good find.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Emerson, besides inventing your radio. Uncle Bocce? Well, there was an Emerson radio.
Yes, there was,
Okay.
but I don't think it was the same guy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This day in history in 1775, King George III speaks to Parliament about the American Rebellion, charging them to move quickly to repel and get the colonies back into order.
Sound familiar?
Yep.
You always bring up those sound familiars. Okay, I have not one but two leadership quotes tonight from Crowned Grace International. The first of which is from Proverbs 16:11. Planning is important. Planning shouldn't be avoided on account of God's sovereignty, nor should you elevate planning as if we can direct our destinies.
That's
So,
a good one.
make a plan, but allow for it to be interrupted. And since we are in the world of talking about voter rigging and, clandestine operations having to do with the vote, I thought this one, at least the author of this one, would be rather enjoyable. This is something from Lyndon B. Johnson, the originator of the dead voter. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose.
And so what if we use dead people?
It doesn't make any difference.
There you go.
It's about winning or losing.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We're going to have tonight, besides our usual fray and chatter about the election, we are going to have an interview with a fellow by the name of David M. Jackson, who has written a new book called Life in the Second Half. I think you'll enjoy the conversation. I really enjoyed having it with Mr. Jackson. And that's about it. We might have a surprise guest come in and give us a few minutes just to kind of get our attitude correct. So, Uncle Bocce,
Yes, sir.
Why don't you walk us through a bit of history, please?
Okay, we will do that. Continue on our march toward independence. Tonight I want to talk about the Royal Proclamation of 1763. It was one of the first steps riling up the colonists. This Royal Proclamation was issued by King George III. We just talked about him. Because of Great Britain's acquisition of all the French territory in North America following the end of the French and Indian Wars, which was the 7-Year War in Europe. So that came to an end, and what happened was that the native Indians, finding themselves now under the rule of the British, were very, very upset. Apparently they had a really good, close relationship with the French, and they did well. So to stem that a little bit, the founders decided that they would issue another proclamation, and we'll talk about that. Not the founders, but Britain did, and then we'll talk about the reaction. Now, there was a financial reason for the Royal Proclamation of 1763. Their victory in the French and Indian Wars enabled them to monopolize the fur trade, a lucrative business. So now that fell from the French into the British hands.
So monopolize the fur trade here,
yeah,
or basically worldwide, but a lot of it originated out of North America.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that was very, very. The French made that into an industry that was unsurpassed.
Well, it persists today with the cost of a mink coat.
Well, there you go. So they wanted to improve and expand trade further, involving the Native Americans who lived on the frontier.
Right.
Because this expanded the British holdings from just the coastal area where the 13 original colonies all the way over to the Appalachian Mountains. Uh-huh. So, which was all French territory at one time. So the fight to monopolize the trade in the French territory met with a little bit of resistance because the Indians weren't really very happy about it. So there were bloody conflicts that went on. One of them was called the Beaver Wars in 1640 through 1701. So they lasted for a long time. And this was against the Iroquois Confederacy. And it wasn't just one tribe. It was a confederacy of many, many tribes that lived in that area.
So how did the Beavers attack? Did they attack us, or did we attack them?
Yeah, no, both ways. They attacked the forts, like the Fort of Detroit.
What did they do, crawl in and start slapping people around with their tail, or what? Yeah, they built their forts in the middle of a lake. Right, and we couldn't attack. Okay,
a beaver-made lake. Oh, boy. Okay, now, the manning of the proclamation line, which was the line that they drew along the Appalachian Mountains, it became a very massive boundary, and they called this line the Proclamation Line, and it established the manning of posts along the border. It was a costly venture, which the British administration argued was for the defense of the colonists, okay, which was not true. It was really to assuage the Indian tribes, and so that they would not rebel against them.
So this was 200 and X years ago.
That's correct. 1763 and thereabouts.
That the equivalent of today's federal government,
right,
was spending money, not and under the pretense,
there you go,
of protecting the colonies.
Yep.
when in fact they were protecting their fur trade.
Exactly. Exactly. And protecting the Indians because they didn't want any trouble from the Indians.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood what you were telling me.
That's good. Well, here's the kicker.
Right.
What the Brits did is they expected the colonists to pay the cost of manning the border.
So it
So
does resemble today.
yes, it does. So there was the first slap on the colonies.
That's unfair to the British and the federal government. Anytime you have centralized government, that's the way they play.
That is
That's
exactly.
the way they play. That's the model. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so they were forced to pay tax for the boundary, which was totally against the interests of the British colonies, because the British colonies wanted to expand and make use of those lands. If you were to look at a map, you would see the Appalachian Mountains, which was the dividing line, and it went all the way from the northern colonies of Maine all the way down to East Florida, actually. So it took in it was a long border, a very long border. Now, the reaction of the colonists to this proclamation, the British colonists vehemently resented the Royal Proclamation of 1763 and the concept of the line, the proclamation line.
Vehemently.
Vehemently.
But not violently.
No, vehemently.
So far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So prominent American colonists joined with land speculators in Britain to lobby the government to move the line further west. And as a result of the boundary line, it was adjusted. A series of treaties with Native American Indians, and in 1768, the Treaty of Fort Stanwix, the 1768 Treaty of Hard Labor, and 1770 Treaty of Lochaber opened much of what is now West Virginia, Kentucky, to British settlement. So that's how we got that expansion going.
When we say opened it to British settlement, in other words, we made a treaty with the Native Americans,
right,
to allow us to settle it. Did they move out? Did they move further west? Do you know? Don't know. That's all right.
Well, yeah, they were.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying, and they were on the other side of the proclamation line.
Aha.
So through treaties, yes, they said, okay, you guys can settle.
Okay.
Okay, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And that's it for this week. This is Uncle Bocce, UNCLE, BACI at DocOwenShow.com. And you can reach me on Twitter at Uncle_Bocce or at Uncle_Bocce.
Right.
Okay, folks, we'll see you next week, and we'll be talking more about the events.
Well, don't go away. I got a surprise for you.
Go right ahead.
Okay. All right. So, where are we going now? Well, we're going to take a little 1-minute break. It's a little bit early. Can I give Uncle Bocce a surprise?
Go ahead.
Well,
you're asking the producer, and I'm saying go ahead. Listen to me.
This is not it. The Doc Owen Show is considered part of the independent media. That's what we do. We're outside the mainstream media. We're way outside the mainstream media,
which is a good thing.
Well, so far, yes. But mainstream columnists, say that the conservative media must change. That would include us. All right. 2 authors, Oliver Darcy and Pamela Ingle of The Hill, say the Republican Party will have to do something about conservative media after the election is over. Taking for granted that Hillary Clinton will win on November 8th, the columnists say that Donald Trump is the result of a conservative media industrial complex gone haywire.
Oh, my.
Years before the real estate tycoon entered into the political stage, the conservative press, made up of a handful of websites, talk radio, and Fox News opinion programming, started to move the center of gravity in the Republican base further and further right, is what they say. So it's all our fault. True conservatives could be painted as unprincipled moderates, and as in the case of Trump, unprincipled moderates could be painted as exactly what the base wanted.
That's very interesting.
When you get to, but not every elected official can be Ted Cruz, is what this article goes on to say. When you get to the point where you despise every Republican who isn't a card-carrying member of the Freedom Caucus, you're just helping Democrats. So, in other words, there needs to be some moderation in there. The rest of their analysis is completely backwards. Breitbart, Rush Limbaugh, and Fox News did not create the Trump phenomenon.
No, they did not.
Right? But they also didn't trash Trump on a daily basis either. So, what they did do was realize that they had an opportunity to back somebody who actually had some excitement behind him when running for office. Okay, on that note, we will take a little 1-minute break and be right back.
Yep.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are glad to have you. We're going to do about a 20-minute play about a 20-minute conversation that I had with a new author by the name of David M. Jackson, who has written a book called Life in the Second Half. And the reason I'm putting it on here is because I think we could all use a little uplifting, a little attitude improvement as we, get knocked around and constantly bombarded these days by the political process. So I think you will find this conversation, I hope you find this conversation, kind of inspiring as well as sort of leveling your head out a little bit. So take it away, Ms. Surefire. I have a conversation with a former Marine. Thank you for your service, Mr. Jackson, before we go any further. A fellow by the name of David K. Jackson, who has also written a book, and the name of it is Life in the Second Half. So I felt from the title that it was something I was probably living. I have not had a chance to read it, but I certainly will. Mr. Jackson, how are you, sir?
I am super, Doc, and thanks for having me. Best day of my life. How are you today?
I'm doing great. All is well. So tell me, give a little bit more than the little brief overview that I just gave. I mean, the fact that you were a Marine, and I said former Marine, which is really kind of difficult. Once a Marine, always a Marine. You're just
Once
not
a Marine, always a Marine.
Absolutely, you're just not on active duty anymore. But you were a part of the embassy protection crew. Let's put it that way. The write-up said you were in the Soviet Union. Was that the only place? Was that the primary embassy where you worked, or you bound up doing duty at others?
It was one of 3 locations that we actually served. My first post on embassy duty at a Marine Security Guard program, as it's more widely known, was in Paris, France.
Wow, yeah.
Spent a year in Paris, left Paris, went to Moscow, which was then communist Moscow, Russia.
Wow, okay.
Served there. From Moscow, we went to Madrid, Spain.
Okay. Well, that's 3 pretty good duty stations, I would say.
Yes, sir.
And you learned a lot. Tell me about what does life in the second half mean? I mean,
Doc, as you know, as you reminded the audience, the name of the book is Life in the Second Half. We compare the games of basketball and football to life.
Okay.
And I'm sure everyone's heard, the statement, life is but a game, the game of life, on and on and on. So the Lord placed in my spirit that, look, like football and basketball, no matter who wins the first half, if you lose the second half, you lose the game.
Uh-huh.
So that's how we came up with Life in the Second Half, which is to remind people that no matter what happened yesterday, today can and will be your second half if you should decide it to be your second half. It's a choice is what it boils down to, Doc.
So it's okay that I woke up one day at about 55 years old and I really didn't have a plan to go further, so I went back and got an MBA and then finished a PhD, and basically my second half started at about 55. So that's the reason that was, I highly associate with your title and your mindset.
Yes, sir.
I think entirely too many of us, and you may have seen the same thing, and I'm sure motivate against it. The second half is the best half.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's where you get to, and to give it the sports analogy, kind of, go into the locker room and say, okay, what have we learned? What do we know now that we didn't know when the game started? And it's an awful lot if you've been paying attention.
Absolutely. And you sure you had read the book, Doctor? I talk about all that in the book.
That's good. No, I haven't. That's good. But I told you, I related to the title in a heartbeat. And then when I heard your affirmations, I'm like, okay, I think I know this guy. I think it's great. So are you doing, other than being an author, you're a motivational speaker? I read that part.
Yes,
a life coach, right?
Yes, sir.
How many, Mr. Jackson? I'm not sure I want a Marine as a life coach. Why would I? I'm giving you a hard time. Why would I want a Marine as a life coach?
Well, I think you answered the question, Doc, because Doc wants to be the best. And in order to be the best, you have to associate with the best. You want to be affiliated with the best.
There you go.
I tell people all the time that no matter what it is that you're striving or desiring to do, place yourself beside or with someone that's greater than you doing it, whatever it is.
Okay.
Because let's use running as a comparative analysis.
All right.
You don't want to run against somebody that's slower than you, because although you're winning, you're not getting any faster.
Uh-huh. So you're not getting any better. You're winning, and that gives you a sense of accomplishment. But like you said, you're not getting any better. I mean,
exactly.
if you keep doing that, you can continue to win, but your time can get slower.
Exactly.
Running's a bad example. I'm 5'4", and we're not built for running.
Run anyway, Doc.
Do it anyway. Just finish the course, right? So,
absolutely.
May I call you David? I feel
absolutely.
like we've now known each other for 5 minutes.
Hey, Doc, just don't call me late for dinner. How about that?
I like it. We are on the same page. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Originally, Montgomery, Alabama is home.
Okay.
My parents' military, so I did high school in Kissimmee, West Germany. We lived in Fort Riley, Kansas, Fort Benning, Georgia, you name it.
Lucky you. I bet you didn't think so at the time, but lucky you. You got a bunch of different experiences. You had to adapt every time you turned around. Being thrown in with a new bunch of kids, that's very, very challenging. But it sounds like you came out on top of it, so that's cool.
Thank you, Doc.
So our audience, the audience that we direct our show to, our tagline is Truth to Youth. So we talk to primarily 16 to 30-year-olds. It's on the radio. It's on the internet radio. It goes worldwide. We just throw it out there. So we don't know, who the listener is, but we try to target the message to relate to that age group. So let's you and I talk, or let's you talk about life in the second half to a bunch of people who by our standards may not have gotten there yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we, because I know when I was that age, you couldn't talk to me about what I needed to worry about when I was 50 or 55 years old just because I just couldn't relate. So how do we get them to relate to the challenges that they're going to face based on the decisions they make today?
Well, the first thing that I would challenge or tell the youth or young adults or young people in general is, listen, you were formed, you were sent here, you were born with a purpose.
Okay.
And that purpose by design is a purpose that only you can perform. So until you get comfortable being you and identifying who you are, and I think part of the challenge is so much time looking outside of ourselves, trying to identify with others, that we lose our own identity. And we allow people, here's the thing that I share with you. If you have in your possession $1 million, and I know the value of what it is that God has in his hand. So my challenge is to talk you out of the value of what it is that you have. In other words, Doc, that's worth nothing. Put it down, throw it away, burn it up, discard it, get rid of it.
Okay.
But watch this. The minute you discard it, throw it away, burn it, or whatever, then I know the value of it. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and possess it because I wanted it all the time, but I had to first get it away from you.
Okay.
And so I challenge the youth to understand that when you're being, quote unquote, bullied, ridiculed, attacked, challenged, or what have you, don't give up. Don't get frustrated. My grandfather told the story, and he shared it this way, Doc. You might be able to relate. I had a tough day on the playground, and I came home soaking, and Daddy said, "Come here, let me show you something." He took me out in the backyard. He said, "You see that tree right there?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What does that tree have on it?" And I said, "Apples." He said, "Exactly." He said, "Now what's on that tree next to it?" And I said, "Leaves." He said, "Now which tree do you think would be the more beneficial to shake or throw something at to get something off?" And I said, "The tree with the apple." He said, "Exactly. That's why the kids picking on you, because you got something on you that they don't have."
I like it. I like it. I like it. Very well
so
said.
We have to be mindful that what we have is what they want. And in football, it is illegal, Doc, to hit the person that doesn't have the ball.
Right.
You realize that?
Yeah,
So
it protected me.
Attacked,
yeah.
When you're being attacked, it's because you have the ball, Doc. It's because you're getting close to the goal line. So it is the defender's position and role to stop you from scoring.
Right. Right.
So to our youth, be mindful that you have the ball. Don't stop running, but don't be disappointed or let down when you come under attack, or when you're misunderstood, or when people ridicule you.
Right.
It's because you have the ball, you have the potential, you have the possibility.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're seeing is, unfortunately, the stronger the attack means the more right you are.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I like your ball analogy for sure. This may surprise you, but even at my height, I was a state champ basketball player. But that was way back in the day when the guy jumping center was 5'11". So
okay.
and that guy doesn't even qualify as a guard anymore.
Right.
It's a little scary. But I really appreciate your analogy about the apple tree. You know, I had not heard anything like that, but certainly the phrase that I grew up with was usually coming from my mother, and it was kind of like they're just jealous. You know,
right.
You've got something that they want. And what always amazed me was, I probably a little bit like you, I'd be more than happy to give it to you if you'd just listen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's something that, I was born with it. It's not something I have in my hand or anything. It's an attitude that I'm more than happy to help you understand. And I think most of mine came from church. I bet yours did too.
Absolutely, it did.
Right.
And what I share with people, Doc, is that, and you said it best. I love the way you put it. I was born with it, but it took the second half for me to realize what it was or what it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah. When I went back at 55, I can tell you right now, when I was going through. I did an MBA, and then I went on and did the PhD. And when I was going through the PhD, I went to a little school here in San Antonio called Our Lady of the Lake. And it's a very nurturing, typical Catholic environment. I'm not Catholic, but it brought me back to a way that I had long since departed from for a number of reasons. It was always in my heart, but it was never part of my practices for a long time.
Right.
And so I get it. That I guess that's another reason I relate to your second half moniker, which I think is great, by the way. It's just absolutely fabulous. So
we're so grateful, and thank you so much, Doctor. My prayer is that people would take the second half and run with it, own it, and identify it as if you haven't made it to the second half.
Right.
Let that be your goal.
Well, the second half can start anytime you want it to, right?
Absolutely.
in your life, and I'm sure you say that in the book. I mean, the second half is not an age. It's not an experience level. It's not anything. It's just when you decide, okay, I'm done with all that stuff. Now I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to be those affirmations that you went through in your video that I watched.
Yes,
right?
Sir. And when we began to actualize those affirmations, and I think I would share with the audience, especially young people as well, the power of life and death is in the tongue. Be careful what you couple yourself with. What do you mean, David? Well,
that's what I was about to ask you.
When you say, I'm sick, I'm broke, you become that. You begin to manifest the things that you say. So if you could say you're broke, you're sick, you're tired, you could also say, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, I'm wise.
Yeah. We become, we are what we think we are.
Absolutely.
And that's on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have anything to do with our worldly possessions. Right?
In fact, I would go so far as to say that it's just the opposite. Our words, what we say, we ultimately end up seeing.
Right. Yeah, there was a fellow that said, whatsoever you can vividly imagine and actively pursue, you can achieve, you can accomplish. And that's what I hear you saying.
You have it. You got it, Doc. You live in life in the second half, sir.
Yeah, I am. And actually, I'm a little bit aggravated by that fact. I should have started the second half long before I did.
Well, I'll challenge you on that. I certainly can't determine or dictate when your second half, or anyone's beginning for that matter. But
right.
Here's the thing that I'll point out to you. Moses, it was in the Bible, Moses' second half began when he was 80 years old.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel a lot better. I got to jump on him. I just got aggravated. I got started. So, I should have come to the conclusions and the understanding and the knowledge that I did a whole lot sooner. But at least one of the things I like to reflect on is that I didn't wind up with all this education to sit on the front porch and watch life go by. And that's why I have you on a radio show. It is my outreach and my way to give back. So, and I'm sure that's why you write.
And again, Doc, I'm so humbled and grateful for the opportunity, and I can only say and be honest in sharing that, Doc, my story, my second half story is unique in that.
Please.
I can take no credit for life in the second half because my move back to Alabama was sheer obedience. I left Alabama saying I would never live in Alabama again. I'd never live in Alabama again.
Right.
And in 2012, the Lord spoke to me and said, it's time for you to go home.
Interesting.
Alabama? He was like, yeah. And so I moved back to Alabama, and there began the second half and began working on the book. And so many things have happened from a positive perspective. Moving back to Alabama.
Where were you at the time? Where were you in your life? In other words, was that when you retired? Is that when you left active duty?
I actually left active duty in 1989 and moved to Atlanta, to the Metro Atlanta area.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I was there for 25 years.
Whoa. So, yeah, that was quite Metro Atlanta is hopping and popping and lots going on and lots of activity and lots of people doing things.
You got it.
And so you felt like, okay, I'll go plop down in the middle of this and become a big success. And it was probably as elusive for you as it was in the big town I settled in, coming out of a small town.
Absolutely. And here's another thing that I show people as well, going back to the youth again. Doc, in every opposition, there's an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
In every opposition, there's an opportunity. And most of the time, coming back to where we were a second ago, Metro Atlanta, the fast life, the big city, we spend the majority of our time in pursuit of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And whenever opposition shows up, we fret, we cower away, we run, we try and avoid it. Not realizing that the very opportunity that we're looking for is hidden in our opposition.
Well, and it's kind of, it probably struck you when you did take a step back when the Lord was telling you need to go home, that's a little counterintuitive to what you were trained to do as a Marine. We run towards the opposition.
Absolutely.
I mean, you attack. You know,
right.
I started my undergraduate career at the Naval Academy, so I have a real fondness for what you did for a very long time, and a great appreciation for it, and a wonderful appreciation for the training you went through, because I got lucky enough to be trained by several of them.
And thank you for your service as well.
Yeah, listen to it. So, how do we? I feel like we could have this chat for quite a while. How do we kind of wrap up on a high note? I like to keep them in the 15 to 20 minute range. So, what you've offered a lot of words of wisdom, and I greatly appreciate it. Where do we find the book? It's on your website. Is it on Amazon? Where do we find Life in the Second Half?
Awesome. And you answered both questions, yes. The book is available on the website, www.davidkjackson.com.
David K. Jackson, folks. Remember that. David K. Jackson. All right.
.com. And you can get it there. You can get it through Amazon.
Okay.
.com, Life in the Second Half, or you can type in my name, David K. Jackson. It should come up as well.
Okay.
It's available on Books A Million.
Oh, nice.
It's available on the iPhone, iBook store.
Oh, good for you.
Go to iBook, type in the title or my name again, David K. Jackson. The book should come up. The unique thing about the iBook store is that it will allow you to preview the first 10 pages of the book.
Oh, okay.
It's free.
And so you made sure that one was proper, that the first 10 pages were properly edited, right?
You got it, Doc.
Put the hook in up front. It's been a real pleasure, Mr. Jackson. I would look forward to talking to you again soon. Give me a chance to read the book, and I'll reach out, and we'll say, okay, now I got a few questions.
Looking forward to it, Doc, and I pray that it will inspire you, and not only inspire you, but inspire you to inspire others as you're doing anyway. I think Life in the second half will serve as a confirmation to what you're living.
Keep up the good work, sir. You're finishing strong.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the second half, Doc.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back, or welcome aboard. Hopefully it's welcome back, and you were able to hear the conversation we had with Mr. David M. Jackson, author of a new book called Life in the Second Half. And I look forward to reading it. I have not read it yet, but I got a feeling it's going to be real inspiring. So that's what that was all about. It was just kind of I thought we all might need a little moment. It actually was 15 or 20 minutes of, extricating ourselves from all the negativity that's going on around the current political process. And I got a feeling that's no matter which side of the aisle you're on, because it's just mudsling after mudsling after mudsling. Uncle Bocce came to the studios this evening, and as we were doing our show prep, and he was all pumped up and fired up that Trump was going to win, and Trump's going to do this, and Trump's going to do that, and He's out there really making waves, et cetera, et cetera. So it is my duty when that's presented to me to deflate that balloon. And so I reminded him of all of the shenanigans that are going on. We're going to discuss some of them here in a minute. And mostly it's about the fact there's a very strong kind of, I don't want to call it a movement, but a lot of very educated people that in the alternate media, as we refer to ourselves, that are convinced that, yes, Trump is going to win the popular vote, perhaps by a landslide, by a considerable amount. He's going to, because it's showing up in his rallies, it's showing up in everything that goes on. He does a Facebook sort of a live broadcast 2 or 3 times a day and has somewhere between 85 and 100,000 people watching on Facebook. Not to mention every place that he's done a rally they've had to turn people away. And these are not 500-seat venues. These are 25,000-seat venues, and they're turned away.
Yeah, he just had one that was 20,000. They didn't have any room for any more people in it.
Right. I mean, you were about to say something.
No, I just wow, that's great.
So he's going to win the popular vote, hands down, but lose the Electoral College, which is what determines it. And what I learned in some of the reading was 21 of the 50 states have no law that requires the elector, the person that go into the Electoral College, to vote according to what his state has just voted. In other words, 21 of these states, the 25 or 30 or however many electoral votes they have, can say, nope, we disagree. We're going to vote for Clinton. Or it was too close to call. We think it goes to Clinton. And the theory is, and they're looking for the smoking gun, the proof. The theory is that that's one of the reasons that the Clinton campaign is so smug about having already won, is because the Soros and the huge money that's behind them has already stepped in and bribed a bunch of the electors in the electoral colleges. And so anything can, I guess if the lesson from that is anything can happen, right?
Yes, anything can happen, unfortunately.
Okay. So let me see if I can right the ship for you.
You can try.
A professor who correctly predicted the last 5 elections says this candidate will win with 87% certainty.
Really?
Is how much certainty he has in his results. All right.
Wow.
If you go by the national polls, things aren't looking promising for the Donald. We all know that. All right. In some key swing states, he seems to be doing fairly well, even taking the lead in some. And those local polls, especially in battleground states, are far more important than the national polls. Right.
That's correct.
So no matter which side people are on, they're always going to think something is rigged. In other words, now, the Donald is saying it's coming in rigged. We don't all remember, but we should. The routine about the hanging chads down in Florida with the Bush-Gore battle, and it took 2 Supreme Court decisions to tell Mr. Gore, you lost. 2 Supreme Court decisions to say, just forget about it. Go find something else to do. Right. Go dress up like a polar bear and complain about the ice. One political science professor who has correctly predicted the winners of the last 5 presidential elections doesn't go by the polls. Okay? His name is Helmut Norpoth, and he works at Stony Brook University in New York. Using a statistical model based on previous election results, he is predicting that Mr. Trump will triumph next month. Professor Norpoth told the writer, my forecast says that he's going to win 52.5% of the 2-party vote. That would give Hillary 47.5%. I attach something like 87% certainty that he's going to win. And the deal is this. Trump's advantage is that he represents a party which has been out of power for almost a decade. It's very difficult for a party that's been in the White House for 2 terms to get a 3rd term. It's not very common. Obama openly won by half the margin in 2012 compared to 2008. So that shows that the trajectory of the vote for the Democrats is down. And Ms. Clinton's confidence could result in defeat, he claims. I think that's been a problem all along. She was complacent when she ran against Obama in 2008 and lost. And I think she believes too much of the hype that she's ahead in the polls. Lots of anti-establishment people have run for president, but none have made it as far as Donald Trump has. Maybe the old rules of predicting voter outcome don't apply this time around. So there's a very successful professor out there, Uncle Bocce, that agrees with you. And he's 87% certain of his prediction because of the way he does his statistical model. It totally ignores polls.
Absolutely.
It's based on historical information and what's going on this time.
Yeah, I'll take your 87% and increase it by 1. 88% chance.
Okay.
And I don't play poker.
Yeah. I can tell. So now let's go back to some reality of what else is out there. I laughed at this one. I got to tell you, the Department of Justice warns
injustice.
Yeah, warns efforts to stop the 2016 voter fraud could violate federal law.
Oh.
A U.S. Department of Justice press release warns individuals who may serve as poll watchers hoping to prevent voter fraud could violate voter intimidation laws.
Yes.
In other words, you can see it, but you can't say anything.
Exactly. I was just talking to someone who is a poll, who is a judge, and the Bexar County Elections Board
Right.
told him and other judges that even if you knew the person who walked in to vote, you knew that person was not eligible to vote, you are not able to challenge them. You just close your eyes and let the person go ahead and vote. So that just to corroborate what you were just saying.
And did since this is firsthand knowledge, did your friend ask? Then how or do they get caught? I mean, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, he did, but they just repeated that. No, you're not allowed to. I'm sorry, you're just not going to do it.
Okay,
and, he objected.
So that's exactly the reason for my tweet the other day.
Okay,
It is if that happens, if you're within the sound of my voice, and that happens to you, and you notice somebody that you know is from out of state, or if you notice voter fraud going on, it is absolutely time for civil disobedience. All right.
Yes, sir.
You call on the Doc Owen show, and I'll see to it that we make your bail money. I don't know how, but we'll get you out. And that's nonsense. That's total nonsense. If you see it going on, you call it. That's
what a poll judge is supposed to do.
Well,
and they're tying their hands.
Well, because they've written laws so that you can't do what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
They've made it safe. Like, so what's the point? Why are you there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To help the little ladies across the street and open the door for them, I guess. Not to decide whether they're U.S. citizens or not. I told you this would get you riled up. That's why I did the other one first.
Hey, you didn't hear me on the other one.
Yeah, well. But they offered a blanket warning to individuals that may hope to disrupt and document similar plots that those actions may too violate federal voting rights laws. Some states you're allowed to do that. In other states you are not.
Yeah, it's all part of the intimidation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The government is intimidating people.
So if you're not aware, you should be, and we will now make you aware that in recently, within the last 2 to 4 weeks, the Democrat Party, the Hillary campaign, decided that they would spend a bunch of money in Texas, because Texas was now in play, that there was an opportunity that this state could go blue, that it could, we're like second only, I think, to California in terms of electoral votes.
That is
they
correct.
have 55, we have 38. So it's a big plum, right? And
Yes.
so they decided to run ads down here, et cetera, et cetera. There are those of us on the ground in Texas who thought that it might just be cover for some illegal actions. In other words, they'd have an excuse that they ran all those ads. That's why our voter turnout, our results were so much better than everybody expected. And I didn't believe it. I thought, so we have reports statewide, various and sundry spots around the state where the voting machines are absolutely rigged. And there have been as a matter of fact,
true.
One, the most egregious of that occurred in Baytown, Texas, which is Chambers County. And it was so bad that the county officials said, take them all out. We're going to vote by paper this time. So they're not using electronic voting machines at all. They've gone to a paper ballot county-wide.
Excellent.
That's the result of what they did. I think that was a really good call. But that's not the only place it's happening. So I warned about it last week, if I remember correctly. No, I didn't warn about it. No, I forgot when I did. Maybe it's on the St. City show on Tuesday night that the voting machines were rigged. I took a moment of my St. City's time to talk about it because it was fresh. It was just happening on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And what's happening is people are pulling the Republican handle or, pressing the Republican button to vote straight Republican. And if you don't check your vote at the end, you'll find that all the Republicans you voted for are properly checked until you get to president and vice president, and it switches them to Hillary and Kane. So vote Republican if you wish, but they can put it off to a programming error. And I would submit to you, as I have in elections in the past, I am a 35, 40-year veteran of IT. Yes, it's a programming error. The programming error is that they got caught.
There you go. Exactly.
That's a good one.
It's also going on. Here's another one. It says massive voter fraud proven in Virginia, and the mainstream media ignores it. So it's going on in Virginia. We had one from Chicago early on. Blah blah blah. So I never have enough time to get all the way through these. What's going on with that? Okay,
I don't know.
there is just too much happening. Let's just kind of wing it because I won't be able to get through the end of the article. The challenge is, and I continue to try to make this bipartisan. So Republican or Democrat, I urge you to go vote. I also urge you to play fair. If you're not playing fair, or you know that your side in that situation is not playing fair, then you have a duty as an American above and beyond your party to do something about it.
Amen.
Because you are reducing the value of your vote, even if you're on the winning side when you cheat.
That's right.
You're undermining your own Americanism. Your right and your responsibility and your capabilities to cast a vote in the first place. Your own party is saying, we don't care. We're going to make sure we win because we know we can't win in the marketplace of our ideas. If you really listen to what Clinton stands for, there's no way in hell you would vote for it.
That's right.
I mean, pardon my Aggie accent. So, Republican or Democrat, play fair. Go vote, but play fair. And make sure everybody else does to the front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.